everybody. Welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients. We're a Dota 2 podcast. My name's Cyphus. I'm sitting here with Roland.
Hello.
We got a new studio set up. It's nice. I can stare you right in the eyes.
It's baby ready, is what it is.
Oh,
it's baby ready, and it's efficient.
It is.
I feel like I went for max efficiency for the space.
Yeah, I dig it. It works.
We have a
well.
round table now. It's a rectangular table, but we can.
Yeah.
But it's like a round
We can
table.
sit people around it. We could actually have 4 people in here, and everybody be looking at each other and recording.
I don't have to hold the desk mic on my knee and oh, my leg's going numb, just so I can look you in the face.
Yeah.
Which that makes my face go numb, but
Yeah.
I'd rather have my face numb than my leg numb. So I'm
yeah.
just joking.
Yeah.
I haven't given you a lot of shit.
Yesterday, I was hauling shit to the dump.
Oh yes.
And I call up Roland because I'm a nice guy, and I say, hey, I'm going to the dump. I'm going to be driving right by your house. Is there anything you guys want me to throw in the back of the truck before I get out over there? And he said, oh, you're in the truck, right? I was like, yeah, of course. That's how I'd get everything to the dump. He goes, oh, well, the only thing I'd throw away is already in there, I guess, then. Yeah, I'm glad you laughed
It
at your
was
own
so
joke.
funny, dude. Because you were like, I was like, so you're in the car, and you're like, yeah, I'm driving to the dumps, and I was like, oh, good, yeah, that's it. Oh, good, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And at first you were like, fuck you. After that,
You know what's shitty is I got to the dump right after that,
and it was Veterans Day,
it was
wasn't it?
Veterans Day. I didn't even think about it. Of course, I had the day off. Why wouldn't the dump have the day off?
The dump has the day off on Sundays too.
Yeah.
I was gonna go to the dump today too because we did need you to take something to the dump for us. It was because we're getting new dressers.
Yeah.
Because her grandma's coming into town and went to the good old throwaway dresser store and got some throwaway dressers because they're old, and that's always cool to have shit that was built
Old stuff.
before the industrial era. That's really awesome.
Antique is the word they
I
like
guess
to use.
it's nice. There's no carbon footprint on any of this, so I guess you can look at it that way. This furniture does not believe in climate change. That's for sure. Oh man.
All right. Well, let's avoid all politics.
Oh no, I'm not going to talk politics.
Yeah.
Although I will say one thing that was hilarious.
No. Okay.
So top of Reddit. This has been. I never realized I'd love Reddit so much because top of Reddit, just Reddit is like awesome. Like I go to it every day and it makes me laugh out loud every day because it's a bunch of subreddits and they rise to the top. Often I see Dota at the very top of our all. But there was a post that an anti-Trump rally that said Trump canceled Firefly is what the sign said. And I was like, awesome, like a sense of humor. And it was in all red and it looked all evil, and like I'm sure 99.99999% of people had no idea what that sign meant, but they were still angry.
Yeah.
And this guy's just holding a big sign that said Trump canceled Firefly.
Yeah. That's the rumor we'll spread.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, man. I thought about going back and watching Firefly this week.
Yeah, little did I know, Proud did the same thing that you did, which was he watched Serenity, the movie, before watching Firefly, and is like, I didn't give a fuck that Wash died. It's just the pilot died.
Or book. Or big spoiler alert. Sorry, everybody. We just ruined Serenity for you. You should have seen it already.
And I was like, oh, dude, luckily I saw the first 13 episodes, and then I saw Serenity. Yeah. So it mattered to me when Wash died.
I'll say,
and book, of course.
I'll always remember that time fondly, because that was when, so my brother Dustin, he's on Let There Be Geeks with us. He and I were living together at the time. We're roommates. Right, it was shortly after I bought the condo I'm trying to sell right now. And we went to go see it, and it was sad, dude. Like we went to see it like maybe the day after it opened, and that theater was empty. There were like
it's a great movie. Like even if you haven't seen Firefly, any of the 13 episodes of Firefly, that's a great movie.
Well, I'll say so. I guess I have a unique perspective in that, like, I hadn't seen Firefly when we went to see Serenity. I just went to see it because everybody knows I'm a geek. I like I like sci-fi movies.
It's a sci-fi movie with space.
And I had read an article that somebody was saying, like, this could be the next, like, franchise, this could be the next Star Wars. And this was at a time when we didn't.
Were wrong.
Yeah. And this was at a time when we didn't have, like, the revamp of Star Wars, remember? We didn't know that more of them were coming.
Rogue One coming up. Ooh.
We only had the shitty, prequels, and everybody had kind of been let down by Star Wars. And so it felt like, okay, yeah, I'll go see a potential, like, contender for a new sci-fi, franchise, and it was fun. It was a good adventure movie.
The Reavers were really sweet, dude, and you're like, whoa, and then that like hologram where it's like, I don't know, we don't have much time, blah blah, and she died. Yeah, that was.
I enjoyed it.
Cool.
I enjoyed it, but I did feel a little lost watching it. I did feel like
you said you laughed out loud when Wash died. I laughed out loud
when Wash died because I didn't have a relationship with that character
because they didn't build it in the movie.
Yeah, and so I'll say that like watching it as a non-fan that first time, it was. I felt like there just wasn't the level of character development that was needed to achieve what they were trying to achieve in that moment. And then we got home, and like a day later, Dustin told me, he was like, "Hey, did you know that, you remember that movie? You remember Serenity?" He was like, "Hey, did you know that it was a TV show beforehand?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, and so we started looking for a Serenity TV show, and he's like, "Oh no, it's called Firefly." It's like, okay, so we looked that up, and this was, I'll admit, this was at a time when I was willing to torrent things, and I watched the first episode. I watched the first like 2 or 3 episodes, and I told Dustin, I was like, "We're gonna buy the DVD and support the show."
Yeah.
And so we bought the DVDs on Amazon. We had it shipped. We were so excited to go pick it up after just seeing the first 2 or 3 episodes that we were like watching the track package.
Yeah.
And we had missed it. We had been gone when they tried to deliver it, so we had to call UPS and go wait for the truck that was out that had missed us to come back to get it off. We were that excited. We burned through all 13 episodes. We burned through all the special features, and dude, like
there were a lot of special features too. There was a lot of
and I was emotional
the man
about
they
it.
call Gene. I love that episode.
So we finished it over the course of a week, and in that week, Serenity was already stopped, like had already stopped showing at all the main theaters, and like 2 weeks later, after we had gone through the show probably twice, we are now diehard Brown.
You wanted to see Serenity
I
again.
wanted to see it again, and we managed to find a showing like an hour and a half away from us in a dollar theater. And so I actually got to go sit, but it was an incredible moment, dude. I had chills down my spine when Serenity first flew over. Like it was
well produced, dude. It had his name's extremely hard to pronounce. Chiwetel
Ejiofor, I think.
Yeah, Chiwetel. Great. I am not giving any disrespect toward that man. I feel like he is one of the best actors of our time.
You know what he's in? What he's also in?
Yeah, Doctor Strange.
And you saw it.
Yeah,
I did too. I loved that movie.
Yeah,
I was so surprised at how good it was.
When I saw the trailers, it looked like cheesy, like animation, like Green Lantern-y almost when I saw the trailer.
Oh, really?
But I am not a Marvel fan, so I didn't know about Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is one of the what Marvel has done recently, which I love, is they picked up all of those like ancillary characters from the universe, because everybody knows Iron Man and Spider-Man and Thor is relatively popular. Captain America is hugely popular. All of these titles that were real popular, yes, they started with, but then they started branching off, and we all got introduced to things like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which I saw a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yeah. I don't think it's called Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Volume 2, I think is what they're calling it.
It's hilarious, though. I mean, that was such a great time watching that movie as well.
Yeah, and so Doctor Strange is one of those titles that, is kind of ancillary as well.
Well, I think in order for the next Avengers, we need to have more god heroes.
Right, you need more because I mean, obviously where they're headed is this final showdown with Thanos.
Yeah,
who we keep
and
seeing.
If all we have is Thor, like we need another dude who is like not a human like Iron Man. We need like a dude who is like extra human, like Doctor Strange, who like can control time.
But I'll say after watching it, so I had never read a Doctor Strange comic book. I had read comics where he had made appearances. In my delve with all the various like little Marvel games I've played along the way, I've definitely like experienced the Doctor Strange lore. But now since like I'm inspired to go watch Doctor Strange or read Doctor Strange comics because I love the idea of somebody who like basically yes, he's using magic, and so the D&D nerd in me is like, that's the kind of superhero I would want to be.
As a magic superhero?
I would like to be a sorcerer. All right, call me crazy. That's what I'd rather be doing.
And he is a wizard, right? Like,
he's a sorcerer. Yeah, that's what they call him. He is the sorcerer supreme.
Sorcerer supreme. That's right.
So I would.
I think of like Nacho Supreme, where it's like they just add like what sour cream
and
they call it
with some
supreme.
Sour cream.
Yeah, I think they just add sour cream and they call it supreme. So,
but using your mind, like the way I don't want to spoil that movie too much, but the way that whole thing is kind of resolved, The way that story winds up being resolved is
beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's like I wondered where Leonardo DiCaprio was when the buildings were moving in on themselves and everything like that. I was like,
it has that Inception
wait. I thought I was going to see a Marvel movie. I've already seen Inception, okay? I saw it like 3 times to try and understand that shit. I watched that. We took our... Well, it's not our. We, and Audrey and I took her father... And my father-in-law? Yes. Okay.
That's how that works.
To the movie. Yeah.
Did he enjoy it?
Yeah, he actually did, which I thought he wouldn't because of, like, sorcery. He's heavily Mormon.
Yeah.
Sorcery and alternate dimensions, and I'm not even sure...
The Mormons have never been real big on... So evangelicals are usually
evangelicals are against, like, the witchcraft and
Harry
wizardry
Potter and stuff.
Yeah.
But the Mormons have never been real...
And he walked out and he was like, man, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love the action scene. It's crazy. You can control time. And
did you stay for the post-credit
yes,
scenes?
Of course we stayed for
both?
He's like, I don't drink tea. Yeah, and then we stayed. I don't think we stayed for the last one.
The final one is Chudel Efior.
Oh, really?
And he, you remember Benjamin Bratt's character, the guy who made himself walk again with his magic?
Oh, yeah.
The one who...
where he's, like, playing basketball, and he's like, hey, it's no big deal. Like, just go to, like, this place in Nepal.
Okay, so for those of you who have not seen the movie, just fast forward in the podcast. I'm going to give you 5 seconds right now. Go ahead about 35 seconds, 45 seconds. The end credit scene is Chudel Efior.
I feel like you're saying that wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Finding that guy, and he gives him this speech, and he says, I finally realized what's wrong with the world. And the guy says, what do you mean? He says, too many sorcerers. And then he steals his magic and stops him from being able to walk. So he's going to be the bad guy coming up.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah. I did not stay for that one, and that was...
It was entertaining.
It was mostly due to Audrey saying she needed to go to labor and delivery. I did miss about 15 minutes of that movie because we had to get out. She's like, I'm not feeling good, and she's like, I need to walk around. And so I was like, oh, I'm not going to be like, all right, see, I'm really enjoying this. Like, I was, of course, got up and went out of the theater with her and walked around, and then, just like, okay, breathe. Like, how close are the contractions? Like, because it's time, dude. Like, it's like any daytime now.
Yeah.
So, I missed, basically I walked back in when there's the loop.
Oh, yeah. We shouldn't talk anymore about it. I don't
Anyway. Dota, we had not been playing a ton of Dota until last night where we did play some Dota. Yeah. I had a blast last night. We played with Nameless. We played with your girlfriend. We played with Nameless
and Digi.
And Digi. Thank you.
Love.
Digital Love. I was like, he's the one that got me my Overwatch beta key. He's a super cool dude.
Yeah.
I was like, man, because I bought Overwatch just for a beta key.
Yeah.
But I was too late for the beta key train.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
And so Digital Love was there to save the day, and I was able to play it.
I think Soviet Dancing Bear is the one who got me mine.
He's definitely a like-minded individual, Digital Love. I can't tell you.
They were fun to play with.
I fucking love that little nameless newbie.
You know what I realized? So, okay, I'm going to be, this is the only political I'm going to get with it all. I was definitely disappointed with the election outcome. You were as well.
Yes.
And
I really wanted Gary Johnson.
Yeah. I was kind of going through, I do this to myself. I get overly involved in politics. I always have. I realize on the show.
I never have.
I know you never have, but I always have. In fact, after the 2008 elections, I kind of like shut down and like disconnected from just the news in general for a good year, because I grew up doing debate and getting heavily involved. And in 2008, I'm a liberal. All right, guys, forgive me if you disagree with me. But
is that what it says on your voter registration, that you're Democrat?
Yeah, I'm a registered Democrat.
I'm registered unaffiliated.
A lot of people are. But I've got a side. I picked a side that I predominantly agree with and continue to predominantly agree with. And in 2008, I went and did the campaigning. I mean, everybody knows we're basically based out of Salt Lake. I was making a good 8-hour drive into Denver every weekend for about 8 or 9 weeks straight.
I remember.
In 2008, and I was doing canvassing. for Obama to turn Colorado blue. It was fun. It was a blast. Like I went with a group of 2 or 3 friends every week, and that cast of characters changed. Your wife went with me the very first time,
and she got drunk and was trying to find a Chipotle.
They were all ridiculous. And I was probably the one taking it the most seriously, but that's always
because they were. I'll be honest. They were young, and they were all about like. Yeah, Obama's great, but this Denver scene is rad.
Yeah.
Let's go get some vodka.
Well, and the joke was on all of them because they were like, "Oh, we're going to Colorado." They assumed I was going to Denver. I went to a little town called Loveland, Colorado,
which was an important county.
Yeah, it was in an important area that was heavily divided, and so we were doing the canvassing. I had some of the more inspiring moments of my life on that trip. I also had some very frightening moments.
I'm sure.
Where we were campaigning, where we definitely were like, I know that there's a lot of hyperbole being spewed right now.
I think it's at 11 on the hyperbole right now.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's an 11.
Yeah.
But I had I guess I'll share this story real quick. I had a guy who was upset that we were there the final week. When we were out we were reminding Obama voters to do their early voting that they could. And I had a guy who I had gone to his door, and I guess we had the wrong address. And he was really he acted initially like it was okay that I had stopped by, and he was a McCain supporter. And then he came over while I was next door. And people in Colorado were really sick and tired of getting hit by canvassers.
Probably.
I can't even explain to you. And I can only imagine what it was like in some of these states, even this time around.
Yeah.
You know, how terrible it must have been to be getting hit up by these people.
Except Wisconsin, where it was just like, wow, we've been left alone.
Yeah. So the people in Colorado were sick of this in 2008. And I was knocking on an Obama supporter's door to remind them, and she was like, no, we're already voting for him. Please just go away. And I was like, oh, no, I'm just here to drop off the early voter registration. And this was the case I had to make to a lot of them was, I know, I'm not here to canvass. I'm here to drop off materials that you requested. And the guy who we'd gotten the wrong address for came over while I was talking to this woman, and he said, get the fuck out of here, and started screaming at me. And he had this campaign material that he had asked me to hand him before I left. And in it, he had collected a black widow spider and was trying to force it on my head. And at this point, the woman, like, she got her husband to come out and help me fight this guy off. Like, he was assaulting me and like trying to, like, he was getting up in my face, and it was very like it was a pretty frightening experience, honestly.
Yeah, democracy is a pretty weird thing.
Anyway, so I say all of this to say that I disconnected then, and I disconnected this last week as well.
I have not.
I know you haven't, but like I get too stressed. I get too stressed reading stuff, and like I don't want to go. I'm trying to like talk myself back from the ledge that I think everybody does right after they lose an election, which is, oh man, is this going to be the absolute worst thing that ever happened in the world?
Yes,
and maybe it will be, and maybe it won't. I'll remind you that.
Well, when 3 million families are ripped apart, yeah.
I don't want to get terribly political. My point being that I disconnected, and I didn't play Dota because Dota.
I was scared to play Dota as well. I was scared to see people like MAGA, centipedes, MAGA. I was really scared to see that.
It wasn't even. I'll be honest. It wasn't even. There was an element of that where I was like, man, I don't want to run into somebody who's going to be like an asshole to me, or just be somebody that's kind of like overly excited about their victory. Sure, I guess there was maybe an element of that, but more importantly, I was just like super stressed as it was.
Didn't think you'd play the best game.
I didn't want to play a game that was going to add to my stress. And I guess that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. Is like, Dota's a stressful game.
It's an extremely stressful game.
And you even saw it last night. Like, I get stressed playing Dota. I get it's
and I'm sure it doesn't help when I'm like, shut up, you douchebag, quit being stressed. As I'm like 0-19 on like the tankiest hero in the game. I don't even know what I was playing.
That AM game that we lost last night. That was
completely
AM.
my fault. What was I playing again?
I
just died so many times. I just can't even remember what I was playing.
I don't remember what you were playing. I know
I know it was my fault.
And I know I went 18-6.
And even Chaos was like,
or 18-8.
Every loss is a new learning experience. And you know that's when you've done really bad, is when Chaos, possibly the nicest guy you can meet, is like giving you advice on like agreeing with you that like, yeah, you did lose this game for everybody, but you know, just it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Were you playing? What were you playing?
Dude, I don't know.
It wasn't the Alchemist game.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was. I still had more gold than you at the end of the game, but that's Alchemist, right?
Yeah.
I was 4-11.
The problem was you didn't have a shitload more gold than me.
No, you were like 27, and I was like 30,000. And it was a long game. And basically we lost because I pushed a tier 2 when I was just like creeps. Then I was at a tier 2. I wasn't even meaning to push a tier 2, but technically I was. And then I got jumped and killed.
We just didn't have the...
And I bought a Moon Shard, which was so stupid. Like, Moon Shard should be the 7th thing I get, not the 5th thing I get.
Yeah.
I was like, I have 4,200 gold. I'm farming so fucking quick, and I was talking...
Well, and we needed you with us because you had that Radiance, and they didn't build BKBs. They didn't build MKBs.
Yeah.
We needed you with us fighting with that Radiance so that we could all benefit from that mischance and your Manta and that, you know.
Honestly,
I was
fuming the whole game just because the mid lane went really horrible, and I mean, I don't know. The game was horrible from the start for me. Every rune that I went to was the real rune, and I was like, fuck. And then I still ended up getting my Radiant. Like, I had not fed. I was actually doing okay, but in my mind, I was tilting already. And I got Radiant's Armlet phase still by like 19 minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's so late. And they're like, no, that's actually an okay timing. Like, don't trip out too hard.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, you're right. And then I started like pick myself up by the bootstraps. Like, okay, I'm untilting. Farmed a shitload, then started talking Aghanims with Nameless. Was like, hey, buddy, you're the first one to get it. He was playing a sick Rubik.
Yeah.
And goddamn,
Yeah,
like,
was.
I saw him hook a dude, steal Slark's pounce the dude, steal Slark's Death Pact, or Q, or whatever that's, I think that might be called Death Pact, Q. Then Q, and then steal another spell, and like, just a Rubik wreck a dude. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, bro, like, you're good at this hero. Like, what the fuck?
It was impressive.
Like, it was like a 4-spell steal on one hero.
We saw him 1v1 a Slark.
He 1v1 to Slark with like...
And win.
With like 3 different hero abilities. Yeah. Like, he had a Pudge ability, he had a couple of Slark abilities, then he had like a stun from another hero on the team.
His Rubik lift.
It was impressive, to say the least. His Rubik...
I was really surprised. It was just one of those games where, and I keep having this, and this is again like why Dota becomes stressful, is like you can have
an awesome game and still lose.
You can have an awesome game and still lose, which is stressful.
Because you're 20%, you know what I mean? And maybe even if you're knocking that up to 35%, you're only 35%.
Yeah.
You know?
And then, well, and I like to even, I told you before, I think of it even a little bit differently. I think you're 10%, like in all reality. You know, I can control 10% of everybody that's in that match. Can't control my enemies, can't control my allies, can control me. And there are 9 of them and 1 of me. Yeah. So yeah, there's that element that was kind of stressful. But it's also stressful to be the one losing the lane. You know what I mean? Like you
were getting wrecked by Mirana.
And I want to say that was the Jug game, maybe.
I can't remember. I know it was a Mirana that was pretty much your main issue.
Well, it was the
Mirana Pudge, I think, is what it was.
No, it was too ranged. It was Mirana and
a ranged hero. We can move on.
Yeah.
And I know you had a bad lane. I had a pretty rough lane, and I don't know how top lane went, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean,
because we were Radiant, so
yeah. I mean, I think they were doing relatively well. But yeah, I mean, it's when you're losing those games, man, is it stressful.
I don't know. I get you. I mean, I was definitely really frustrated, and the reason I play solo queue, and I hear about this a lot, where people have like anxiety to play with their friends because they don't want to let them down. I don't really have that, but I know that like you were playing really well.
Yeah, that particular lane, actually, we were dominating. It was they had run a Slark and a Pudge off lane, when I was playing the AM.
I guess it was
and we
a
actually
different game that was
dominated
a
that.
Marana.
Yeah, the Marana game we actually.
Oh yeah, you're like, how is Slark doing this? We wrecked him so hard. How is Slark doing this?
Yeah.
We wrecked him so hard. Yeah,
and he was not very good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game before that was where I was on Jug, and that lane was fucking miserable because we were up against Marana and a Beastmaster.
Oh, okay. So attack speed up the wazoo, and arrows and
just the
boars.
The boars.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, those boars.
They're strong. I know they're really strong.
It actually was one of the I very rarely at our skill level see Beastmasters.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, and
he's a good hero.
Yeah, he's a bitch to lane against.
Yeah, his boars are really annoying.
And
you have them often, and hawks too. If you have any amount of micro where you can just click something and send it anywhere, those hawks are incredible.
Yeah, I was getting no farm on that Jug early on, and I remember that was that game that we should have won a lot earlier. And remember when we won that game, it was like 42 to 29 was the score on that, in their favor. Like we were not winning a lot of fights, but we were pushing the fuck out of them because you were on the Shadow Shaman. Yeah, and you took a lot of early towers. I will say that was.
Well, I kept saving, and then finally I was like, fuck it, I'm dropping them. And I ended up having a refresher and an Ags that game on Shadow Shaman. Yeah. So it worked out.
Yeah, but that AM game hurt.
Oh, yeah, I know. So I had one really bad game as Beastmaster, if you recall. A really good game as Shadow Shaman, and then a really bad game as Alchemist. Well, I don't want to say really bad because I realized if I would have just been not tilty and smart about my item choices, that game would have been so easily in the bag. So easily won. Like, I lost it because I let the momentum go on to the other side. So, that sucked.
It is funny when you talk about momentum, or even tempo. It always reminds me of chess with tempo.
No, yeah. It is.
In
just
Dota
like
games.
It.
Yeah.
And it has to do with how much of the map you can control. And at one point we were controlling our half and a little bit of theirs. And then as our lands started shrinking, that means an AM and an Alchemist are contesting farm. Yeah. And, that's never good. Well. Yeah, it's never good. So, yeah, it
was still a fun game. I mean, I had I want to say 2 triple kills that game.
Oh, you were doing really well.
There were some fun moments in that game, regardless. And I still looked back on that game fun. So Rin was playing Lion, and she was not having fun.
Well, she was dying a ton.
Yeah.
And I know that loop that you can get in as a support where you're just like you're tilted, but you still want to go in there and get stuns and help because your spells are still good, even if you're level 6 and you have 1 point in each spell. You know what I mean? You can still help as a Lion, but Lion's squishy and Rin was just getting like one shot by everybody else because we just it was basically like it was like the 1% versus everybody else. It was me and you, and then a couple people on the enemy team that were the top 1%, and then all the other people just got shit on.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah, it was you and me, and admittedly, again, Nameless is on his Rubik,
which was incredible
for somebody who only had 7.1k net worth. He was doing ridiculous shit.
He was doing more than 7.1k net worth of help for sure.
Oh yeah. Hands down. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this to keep talking about this game. All right, and we're back. Sorry, we had a quick interruption there.
Yes, this episode is going to be shorter. It is my mother-in-law's birthday today. Also, Audrey's grandma's in from Henderson, Nevada. Pretty big county, and so it's birthday time. So we have to go. We didn't do proper.
So I wanted to. I guess I just wanted to hit on the stress of it because so after that AM game, Rin looked over at me and she was like, "Please don't lecture me right now." And I was like, "I wasn't about to." And she was like, "I used my finger of death maybe 3 times that entire match." She felt bad because she knew she wasn't...
Well, if you die, you can't really use your finger of death.
Right, but she felt bad because she knew she hadn't got enough spells.
And a level 1 finger of death isn't going to do much, and I doubt she ever even made it to 11.
Yeah, I wonder what level she was. I'll try
I
to look
mean,
that
she
up.
probably made it to 11 by the end of it, but I'm going to say for the majority of that game, she had level 1 Finger of Death.
Yeah.
Which...
Oh, she was level 14. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. For the majority of the game, probably level 1. But
it still helps.
It does
it's still a
help.
big
it's a
burst.
huge burst of damage, regardless. But we did have the downside to her with the Finger of Death in that game was we had the Pudge, who's pretty resistant to magic damage. We had the Ember, who if he had Flame Guard on at any point, that was just a huge waste. And I saw that Ember block some intense magic damage.
Oh, that's who I was going up. That's who I was going mid against. Remember, I died like 4 times early on.
Yeah. Well, he was having a great game. He was 27-6.
Well, yeah.
He outfarmed you and me.
Because of me, dude. Because I went up against him and he just got the right chains. And then one time I barely got away. I was like 8 health. Awesome. And he just hit Flame Guard. And I didn't even see him and I died. So that means he was in a tree somewhere near me and just turned on Flame Guard. And I was within the AoE. And I died, and it really sucked. So, but that's what tilted me. But that's right. That's what tilted me.
But I felt bad for her in that moment because like we both have kind of avoided Dota this week just because sometimes you don't want to be stressed. I'm like I kind of wanted to unplug from everything. I kind of wanted to unwind a little bit this week, and I just didn't want to stress about it. I don't know.
That's World of Warcraft for me. I mean, there's nothing stressful about that game.
I guess I wonder if everybody. I wonder if everybody feels that way about Dota. I feel
like the people that are good don't feel as much that way about Dota. I mean, I know that Proud and Ursi and all those people can sit down and play 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. I mean, I think my top day on Dota Buff was I played like 13 games of Dota. Yeah. Which is insane and would probably will never happen again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that was like during Spectre days when it wasn't so stressful, where it was like I know exactly what I need to do. I think you're also right.
Like playing with Ursi and Proud and Flub, and maybe that's a characteristic that makes you better at Dota is not getting stressed about it. I'm sure, or not getting stressed or avoiding tilt.
Or
I get that all those things are elements.
Saying okay, fuck it, let's move on to the next game. I lost, but I'm not going to let that impact my next game.
But like playing with those guys last Saturday for the Extra Life stream, like they were fun to play. They were fun. They were cool. They were collected. We were goofing off. I know that maybe and I guess I wasn't as stressed either.
Oh, they're serious as fuck. They're serious as fuck. But I don't know. I think I think what they do was pretty good. Is that they play a game and then they talk about the game after. And I feel like that's a good way to let the stress go, and it's a good way to pinpoint what went wrong, especially on a team where they're actively trying to make a good team.
Right.
I mean, they're talking probably about what could have been, what couldn't have been, and it doesn't seem like there's much arguing in game.
Yeah,
if at all, from based on what I've seen when they stream the comms. Which any amount of negativity in a game is going to make the game more stressful. It's going to make it feel longer, and it's going to make you play worse.
Yeah,
even if it's like, oh, we lose, or God damn it, that tier 2 is going to fall, and there's nothing we can do about it. Like. Instead, the way I see Proud call out things when things are bad is there's nothing we can do, let it go, let's try and take this. Like presenting alternatives, opposed to focusing on something you have no control over. It's lost. It's done. Why are you wasting any mental amount of anything to talk about how you just lost your tier 1 in 5 minutes? Yeah. That sucks. Everybody knows that sucks. But now what are we going to do? Are we going to sit here for a 35, 45, 55-minute game and still talk about that tier 1 tower? No, let's wait till the end of the game and talk about why we lost that tier 1 tower.
Yeah.
Let's focus on how we can get ourselves back in the game. And that's what I've noticed with Proud is that he's really good at Proud is always really stern. He's never like, "Oh, well, it's okay. We're fine. Don't worry about it." He's not like that. He's just like, okay, get the fuck over it. Like, shut up. Like, we're moving on to something else. And he wouldn't even say that. I mean, he would be more encouraging, which makes him a good captain, in my opinion, just based on the comms that I've seen and doing a show with him and playing Dota with him and listening to him.
I guess the thing you could say is Dota is probably a game that it pays to live in the moment. You know what I mean? And not be living in the past, not be...
Proud would say it pays to live a minute ahead of the moment. Because Proud is very good at saying, okay, a minute from now, or sometime in the very near future from now, we are going to do this. So do what you're doing now, get it over with, and then be here.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like, school doesn't start right now. School starts at 8 a.m. You know what you know what I'm saying? Like, you get everything you need to get done before school because it starts at 8 a.m. Sure. And that's kind of like the way my shitty analogy of the episode for Proud, that, you know, he says, okay, do all your shit, but you're going to be here in a minute.
Yeah.
Mid lane, because this is the plan. I don't care if it's wrong. At least we're all together. You know what I mean? And I really respect that type of like playing support for him. He's like, I don't want you to pull now. I don't want you to pull 53. I want you to pull 23. I don't need it right now. I'll need it at 23. So I'm like, are you sure? Like, I'm ready to pull 53. And he's like, need it at the 23. And it's like, okay, like, that's fine. He's like, go, you're Crystal Maiden, go kill a big creep. I don't know. I don't care what you do. But at 23, pull the wave, please. And sure enough, like, the wave, he pushes the wave way out, and then I get the equilibrium wave back, you know, and it works, or whatever is going on in his mind, it works. And that type of play slows the game down. When you're talking about the future instead of the now in a game of Dota, it's a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
And watching replays, I'll tell you, I've been watching my replays, bad or good, on like I'll watch it like 4 times speed, unless there's like something of consequence, then I'll turn it to just normal speed and watch it and like see how I reacted to a situation that I was unaware of. And then I turn it so I can see both sides and see how quickly did I react when I saw that person walk up. And then I go into a game after that, and I'll tell you, the game seems slow as fuck when you're watching a replay. Like, you go into the game and you're like, wow, is this really the speed at which you play a game of Dota? Like, this feels slow. Of course, that wears off very quickly, but like after watching a replay at 4 times speed, it feels very, very slow.
Yeah.
That's been helping me a lot. I mean,
I've done that a couple of times, especially with like new heroes that I'm trying to learn. I've been going back in and checking out a replay after the fact just to see, like, yeah, what did I do? What did I, you know, why, when did it start going bad? Or even just to see, like, admittedly, like, I watch a lot of those and I find something I should have done differently, or something I should have built differently, or I realize I should have been thinking about something differently. The latest bit of advice that I'm looking forward to taking advantage of is Proud talking about, like, seeing the damage that was dealt to determine.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah.
Who has 2 hours to listen to that shit?
I'm not all the way down with it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have a commute, you know. Okay. And when I run out of other podcasts, you know, I toss on the Proudland and see how you guys are doing, you know.
Okay.
I've been trying to toss on Theorycraft Thursday a little more frequently too.
But I just can't stand Ursi. I mean, if there was just some way to just have Proud talking. If I could, we can just, we should release 2. We should mute Ursi's track and release it, and then an Ursi free one, and then just,
and then you can just fill in the Ursi parts by yourself.
Garbage. Like is what it would be. But
no, I'm just kidding, Ursi. I love you. I'll let you dig your own hole here.
I'm not really. Am I kidding? That's what I need to realize.
You guys are such assholes.
I'm not sure if I'm kidding.
Asshole Fridays.
Assland, dude.
Gaping asshole Friday. So anyway, but I went and looked back at one replay, for instance. And every once in a while, I'll watch a replay and like feel good about it. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, hey, I was doing all right, or oh, hey, I was doing what I could do here. Like, all things considered, like I had a really well. I've mentioned it a couple of times, like the shitty AA support that I had one game. The guy who maxed cold feet and nothing else.
Cold feet stats was auto attacking.
I was like, what the fuck? You know, and I went back and I watched that replay because my attitude after the fact was, okay, I'm going to see what I could have done to try to overcome that guy, you know. And I looked at it and I realized, oh yeah, like there were several times where I did everything I could to try to mitigate that. And
it's good to watch replays because it will embolden yourself on, okay, yeah, I did make the right decision. Yeah. And then even on winning games, I love to watch. I go to my deaths and I say, okay, it's a big deal to die.
Right.
I do it all the time. Why did I die here? And could I have avoided it?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of the... well, and usually, my answer to that question, whenever I go back and watch those winning replays where I do die, I realize that it was cockiness.
Yeah, no, and most of the time it is. Most of the time, or it's like suicides, where I'm like, I don't give a fuck, I'm going to take this tier 2. Where if all I needed to do was just back and wait for the wave to push up, I wouldn't have died and still got the tier 2, but only 30 seconds later.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have mattered at all.
Or had I just played it safe and not stayed there and tried to tank something, or stayed there and tried to do something, had I just played it safe and backed up and done things the smart way, I might have seen that guy get revealed by the creep wave getting pushed up and known that they were moving in on me. Or I could have waited until that support got there to drop a ward to know that it was safe to be where I was at.
Yeah.
You know, the things we do... the things I do whenever I'm cocky and don't have vision, and admittedly, like, vision's a tough thing to get at our level. Like, it's hard to find supports. It's hard to find people who are willing to ward, and it's all, this is a slight tangent, but one of the things I notice more frequently than not at higher skill levels that we don't have at our level is warding near the next objective you need to take. You get people at our level that are kind of stuck on their ward spots that
they're just good all game.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it's 50 minutes in and we have complete we've taken all the tier 2s. Everybody's played this game. You have all 3 of your tier 2s and the enemy has nothing but high ground left to push. And that 2K support, the difference between the 2K support and the 5K support is the 2K support is still warding the fucking, like, river top lane.
Yeah.
And not,
The only exception to this is you probably want to keep Roshan warded all game.
But they're still warding. They're warding, and you know these supports. Everybody knows these supports.
Well, you just
only
have your
ward
spots.
the river.
They only ward they have their eyes, and they love those eyes, man. Those eyes
they go back to them, and they go back, and they plant them, and they plant them over and over again. But I know that in games where I have those supports, if I was just willing to ask them, if I was willing to not get cocky, and I was just willing to ask them, hey, put a ward up over here because that's the next objective we need to take. We need to ward this so we can take it because we are in the lead. We can be aggressive. I would avoid so many deaths. I know I would.
I'm sorry. I have to go.
I know. And folks, we're sorry that this is a short episode.
It's been baby time. Sorry. Give me 10 minutes off an episode.
It's a chaotic week. But we are going to be back tomorrow with Try Hard Tuesdays, of course. The rest of the lineup after that. Be sure to tune into the .p in-houses on Wednesday night. Find us on Twitter at .p_show. Defenseofthepatients.com. You can find all of our links. I don't think we have a Patreon link, but that's patreon.com/defenseofthepatients. Be sure to check out the Amazon banner. Click through that.
Jay Gushi.
Jay Gushi on the subreddit. Twitch.tv/.ptv. YouTube.com/.ptv1. Am I missing anything? Don't think so?
I'm going to start casting Wednesdays.
Oh, cool. I meant to cast with you Wednesday night. I got sucked into
I really liked it. I really, really liked it.
And I really regretted that I wasn't paying attention to the Discord when you hit me up to...
I had a blast, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be a caster on Wednesdays from here on out.
I'll try to join you. Yeah. It's always fun. I wish I would have... I should have just played in it.
I'm going to play a game and then cast the rest, I think, or something.
And then I'm going to toss out one final plug, and that is for the Discord. Discord.gg/.p. We are an inclusive community. Everybody is welcome. We hope that you'll come there, join us, and it's a good community. And that's, as I got stressed throughout the week and was worried about, maybe some anti-inclusive messages, I started later on in the week to remember, we have
we're really inclusive,
great community.
Nobody will get deported from our Discord
servers.
Yeah.
So come join us. We welcome everybody, and we look forward to playing with all of you in the future. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, got some exciting guests. We'll start making announcements as we get closer. I think that's going to be it, folks. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we appreciate it. Remember to leave us a review. Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, all your favorite podcast apps. We will continue reading all those reviews on the show. I think that's going to be it. Until next time, this is Cyphus for Roland saying good luck and Godspeed.